Welcome back to another edition of Cooking with Bismark. Today, we're making pancakes. This is one of my wife's favorite recipes for Saturday mornings, and I tend to wake up before she does so I can have breakfast ready for her in bed. For this recipe, you will need 280 grams of flour, 10 grams of baking powder, 15 grams of sugar, a pinch of salt, 60 grams of butter, 2 eggs, 2.5 cups of buttermilk, 65 grams of chocolate chips. First thing we're going to do is we're going to mix our flours, baking powder, salt, and sugar together. So I've already got the flour inside the stand mixer. I'm just going to add the sugar, baking powder, and salt. I hope everyone's having a lovely day today. We're going to lock the stand mixer and then we're going to mix on low speed to bring all the ingredients together. If you mix on high speed, you're going to end up with a cloud of dust that's going to be uncomfortable to breathe. To the dry ingredients, we're going to add our milk and eggs. We're using buttermilk today because that makes for a nicer pancake. If you don't have buttermilk, don't worry. You can add 1 tablespoon of vinegar and then measure out until you have an entire cup of a milk-vinegar combination by adding milk. Repeat this process for as many cups of milk as you need. We need 2.5 cups. To this mix, we are going to add our 2 eggs. I'm going to give the eggs a bit of a stir before I add them in to break them up a bit. Now we're going to mix these ingredients together on a slightly higher speed. You'll want to start out slow while mixing ingredients so that you don't end up splashing them all around. Before you finish mixing all the ingredients, you'll want to stir the sides with a spatula to make sure everything is mixed thoroughly. Your dough should have a nice consistency where you don't have any large chunks of flour floating around in it. Now we're just going to let this mix up again to get in the rest of those flour bits that we scraped off the side. Now we're going to want to melt our 60 grams of butter. Well, now that our butter is nice and melted, we're going to set it off to the side. We're going to heat up the griddle with some butter to grease the tops of it. We'll use a pastry brush to brush on the butter. Now that it's heating up nicely, we're going to add the butter to the mix and then throw in the chocolate chips. Your batter should have a nice thick consistency. Now that the griddle is nice and hot, we're going to scoop some of the batter onto the griddle to form our pancakes. I'm using a cast iron griddle, so once the griddle is up to heat, I'm going to reduce the temperature down to a medium-high heat from the high heat. This will keep the butter and the pancakes from burning. I find using a fish spatula is the best way to flip pancakes as it is thin and long. We'll give those a couple of minutes on this side as well. So I think this pancake's ready. I'm going to flip it back onto its other side in order to get this area that I flattened out to brown up nicely. We'll just do this for a few moments because it's cooked through by now, but I just want a nice brown color on that side. As I said, the heat source here is larger than the heat source back here, so these cook up much faster. Again, I'm just going to flip it one more time just to brown up those sides a bit. Now, if the dough was slightly thinner, you wouldn't need to do this because it would have spread out easily enough at the start when I poured them out. But because it was a thicker dough, I have to flip them again. And that's nice and ready. Move that there. This one's nice and brown too. Just move that over there. Now, we're going to spread more of the butter around using our pastry brush. It tends to collect in this groove here, so I just swipe it out of the groove and back onto the griddle. And then brush it evenly across the griddle. Now, one of the things I enjoy is to have a bit of a fried egg on top of my pancakes, so I'm just going to throw on a couple of eggs. Now to this delicious dish, I'm going to add some real maple syrup. I like my eggs a bit runny, so you can see that I've undercooked them slightly. Not half bad. If you liked this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button.